So welcome everybody to the World of Ability, which is our flagship show to the World of Ability Podcast Network. We do here every Saturday at 1 o'clock Central. I'd love to have everybody join us. We're all about for everybody's abilities here. So I have a great guest here today. I have Steve, who we met through Helpopedia. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Emily. I'm honored to be here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Welcome. So to start off, let me start off with maybe saying a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Yeah. My name is Steve Gagne. I'm in central New York in the Utica, Rome area, probably 40 miles east of Syracuse. And I started out as an advocate because I kind of was forced into it. My son was autistic. He's now an adult with autism. But back when we were first seeing issues, we didn't know what it was because they weren't diagnosing autism back then. And it kind of forced me into becoming an advocate that I didn't plan on. And so I had to help him and find supports around him going through. And what happened was I just kept going. I did all kinds of things for him, and then others in the community with advocacy. I sit on quite a few boards because I'm trying to move the needle. I know there's a lot of people out there doing advocacy, and unfortunately, some of the ones that I know that have been doing it for 30 or 40 years haven't been able to move the needle 1 inch, and that's not what I'm interested in. So I do things a little differently. I'm creative, and I do out of the box advocacy. I do things what everybody else doesn't want to do, and it's enabled me to build quite a few initiatives that are and projects that have been completed in our area that we're hoping to expand further.
That's awesome. Here we have, looks like we have Dr. Harvey joining us as well here. So that's awesome. So hi, Dr. Harvey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine. Is the crew on vacation this week?
Yeah, they're doing something else at the moment. Or yeah, also at the moment. But we are here though. Still here.
So you're the trooper, and you're gonna take over, right?
Yeah, the show still must go on. So, but Dr. Harvey, we're Steve. I'm not sure if you two have met each other, but
no, I don't know, Steve. Hang on a second, so I can hear. Okay, now I can hear.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Doctor. My name is Steve Gagne. I'm in central New York in Utica, Rome, Syracuse area.
Well, I'm in Dallas, Texas, where we're having it warm today.
We have a snow emergency again.
A lot of crazy weather.
Yeah, sure
It's
is.
supposed to be in the 30s here on Monday.
Yeah, we had 70 degrees last week, and it's going to be 9 degrees tonight. That's quite a change.
So
I'm afraid there's a lot more of that coming.
Yeah, I think so.
So maybe Dr. Harvey, would you like to introduce yourself to Steve, and maybe Steve, you could just introduce yourself again to know each other here.
Well, Steve, I'll tell you the short version of what I do. I fix brains. I fix both your brains. I fix the brain in your head and the brain in your gut. And when I fix the brain in your gut, I fix the brain in your head. And while I get your immune system working again, and that at least gives you a 50-50 chance of living a life in this toxic world. Because this world is poison. The air you breathe, the food you eat, the water you drink. You really have little control over any of that. Even eating organic food, because when it rains everywhere in the world, it rains glyphosate. It just rains glyphosate. So the only control you have is what goes into your body in food and supplements and things like that to keep your body moving. Anyway, that's what I do. I fix people's internal workings.
Well, it's very important that you're doing that because it's certainly needed out there, and it's not just fixing the brain. It's, I think a lot of times it's more fixing the what's inside and everything else, what's going on. So
The microbiome,
right,
because that actually controls the body. The brain tells the body what to do, but the microbiome tells the brain what to tell the body to do. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to write that down.
that makes sense to me. Anyways, I was telling Emily, doctor, that I have an adult son who's 35 years old. He's got autism and a central auditory processing disorder and a few other things. And back when he was diagnosed, it wasn't for any of that because they didn't know what autism was. They were diagnosing him as having behaviors, period, and nothing else. And we knew it was something more than that because it's just the things he was doing just were so completely out of context of anything I'd ever seen. And so what happened was I kind of had to learn as I go until we started getting supports around him. I found that I had to do a lot of it on my own, because I just didn't. The supports and the places weren't in place, and even sometimes when they had the supports, because they've always had the ARCs and things like that, either my son couldn't qualify. There were so many rules and regulations to keep him out of those programs that we couldn't even get him in the programs to get some supports around him in the first place. It's much different now. He's doing really, really well from where he was, but it gave me a lot of experience. And I wound up, my wife and I wound up doing foster care, and we were the family that did therapeutic foster care. We're the ones that took all the kids that got kicked out of everywhere else. And come to find out that most of them had all kinds of disabilities, just undiagnosed, because in the foster care system, the bio parent's not going to take them to the doctors in most cases. That's why there's neglect charges. So we got really good at what we did, and we were taking a lot of kids with autism, a lot of kids with mental health diagnoses, trauma, especially in foster care and all that. And we've had kids in our house that were literally kicked out of 20 other foster homes, and we were able to maintain them and get them the help. And
That's wonderful.
We've had a bunch of success stories because of it, but it also gave me a lot of experience in advocating, and it gave me a lot of experience because I had to go to court for these kids. And unfortunately, they have these systems put in place, and I'm sure you're a doctor, that a lot of times they put these systems in place and they don't work. And unfortunately, these kids sometimes stay in care for years, and they don't have to be. They're just the system around them and the things they put around them just don't work, and they very seldom let a parent sit at the table and ask us our life stories or our lived experience. And I'm able to do that now, but for years I didn't have a seat at any table. And even though I was getting very successful with kids, from nonverbal kids all the way up, and in getting them supports and services and helping them hear, or creating it is what I do best. Creating some things around them that work, but it wasn't that way for many, many years. And I think there's a lot of parents out there frustrated and exhausted and everything else in the
So what have you done? What have you discovered? I'm interested in knowing.
Things that work for my son and things that work for others. And look, all these agencies, like I'll give you, for instance, there's a disability agency in our area / foster care, and they do play therapy, and they take a kid that's got all kinds of trauma, and they'll play with dolls. Say it's a girl, they'll play with dolls in the room. They'll take the kid outside to shoot baskets, and they'll call that therapy. And what we find is the kids that get pulled from foster care, they're not interested in doing that kind of stuff. They certainly would like to play, but that's not therapy. And if they usually want somebody to.
How old are these kids?
We've had them from babies to age 20, but I would say the ones that we can communicate with, probably, we can start at age 5. Unfortunately, there's kids that we've had that are 15 that are nonverbal. Then you have to learn a whole different communication skill set with them to know what their needs are. And we've been able to to do that. And when I didn't find things that were going on, doctor, I just created them. My son needed a place to go because we got tired of taking him to the mall. There was a lot of restrictions in place, and even he was part of some ARC programs and some other programs, and they weren't effective for some of the things that fit his needs. So we built an autism barn on my property that he used and his friends used, which happened to be other kids with disabilities. And then what happened is everybody in the community started using it. And it's still being used now. It's been used for 8 years, something like that in a row. And it's a 2-story building. It was supposed to start much smaller. I had to bribe my wife to let me go bigger with it so that I can put things in there that I knew that worked. With kids that we had already seen that had come through our house with autism or Down syndrome or MR or whatever. And after that, I started a project because it was hard to get our kids around with disabilities. There's no transportation. Transportation is a monster issue. And I tied into the Veterans Outreach Center here because I got denied by all the disability agencies and even the state agencies. They just didn't want to be involved in anything like that because they said it couldn't work. There was so many rules and regulations. I went to the Veterans Outreach Center. They put me on their board. The first initiative I brought to them was to buy a bus, and it was geared towards kids with disabilities, so it had a wheelchair ramp and all that kind of stuff. And they bought it the next day. And if I tried to run that through a state agency, it would have taken me 3 years. It'd still be in committee. And they bought it the next day because they get stuff done. And that bus has been running over 2 years now, and it's free. We don't charge families for it.
It helps the veterans too, though, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
They have wheelchairs.
Yep, it helps them, and not just that, but we have volunteer drivers that say they put 20 years in military stateside, and they want something to do. They came back, they want to volunteer, they want to help. They're driving the bus. We don't have paid drivers. We use volunteers, and we've never had an issue. We don't charge, like I said, the families or them anywhere. We don't have all the rules and regulations that they normally do. If they want to bring a one-on-one aid with them, if they want to bring their whole family with them to a hockey game at night, we can accommodate that, and it's no charge. And what happened was, through the state, they sent a film crew to my house to film a weekend like house a weekend with somebody that's got kids with disabilities and foster care and all that kind of stuff. And they came in, and the producer liked it so much that we actually started a nonprofit to put two buses like what we did here in Utica across the country, 2 in each state in the first year in 2026. So it tells you that one person can make a change, a parent can make a change. They got to go outside the box to do it. With some of this stuff, and I find it, I feel better about all of this when I can just go and don't get all the roadblocks. I don't get frustrated because I find a way to do it, and we've been able to do that, and we've got a whole bunch of projects we've been able to pull off. And
have you contacted other people?
We're in the process of that. Yes, we're going to roll that out. The name of the nonprofit is going to be called worthdoing.org. We're in the paperwork part of it. I think we're just about done, and we're getting ready to put the rest of the board together, and we'll have a meeting. But we've already got 7 or 8 states already interested in it because of my other advocacy.
Have you contacted Mary Stanley?
No.
Do you know who she is?
No.
She's awesome. She's in Minnesota.
Is she a mom or parent?
She's a mom.
Yeah, it's
A tiger mom.
Yeah, Steve, we
Tiger
can
mom.
put her in contact with you, or connect her with you.
Yeah, please do. I would love to talk to her. I'd love to collaborate and help. We've got a model that works for some of these projects, and we're going to help roll that out. Perfect.
Let me offer.
Go ahead.
I was trained as a mental health consultant to the schools. That was back before they had indoor plumbing. That was my training. What I do now is I treat people who have neurotoxic exposure. I started doing that in the late 80s. because it was rare.
Right.
Everybody has it now. And I will tell you that in my practice early on, I did play therapy. I used to teach play therapy, to teach it to therapists and doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. But it really doesn't work with autistic children unless they have language.
Right.
You have to
A lot
have
of them
language.
didn't. Yeah.
Right. You got to have language. So it's not an appropriate thing to do. I would have thought that, but that's not. In 1995, everybody was diagnosed with autism. I'll just share this with you. And I came along and I said, I'm going to be dead by the time you find out this, but you're going to find out that autism really comes from plastic. I'm not dead, and autism comes from plastic. Very early on, because everything in the kid's environment is plastic.
Exactly.
And now we know what happens. So my belief is that you can fix autism with the right kinds of supplements and something called red light therapy. When I was doing it long ago, I used magnetic therapy. But the problem is, we did that. We had headphones on the kid, and there were wires coming out of it. And you're going to go to your parent. I want to put this on your kid and turn this machine on. Parents don't like that. Well, now it's a lot different. It worked back then. It worked well with people who were toxic. But we didn't know about all the avenues of things, of ways that this stuff gets into your body. But I knew one thing: it couldn't be what do you call them? Vaccines. Because that didn't make any sense. Vaccines have been around, since the 40s. If that didn't make any sense, so it had to be something else. And when you stop to think about it, when we went from using glass to plastic with babies, that's when you saw that begin. Now we know that little children, little infants, are born with 220 to 280, depending on who you read, PFAS chemicals in their system. So they start from that. That's why everybody is working on a way to get the environment healthy. But if you can get the gut healthy, we can do that. I'm diabetic. My last A1C was 5.8, and I don't take any medication. Now that's actually spectacular, but it's almost being a diabetic. You have to get to 5.5 when you're not. But I do that with diet and my food and what I eat, and you're going to find that off with kids. I remember a little boy that I saw. His neurologist sent him to me, and said, "We want to put this little kid in an institution, and we need a write up from you." I thought, okay. And I heard terrible things about this kid. Terrible things. So they bring the kid in at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he sits down, put him in the playroom, and he plays. He took out Tinker Toys. Remember Tinker Toys? How long ago that was?
Absolutely.
And he used to build things with them. Well, you got to have some brains. He wasn't retarded. And he was doing things that you would see a regular kid do. So I said to the mother, I don't see any of this, so what I want you to do tomorrow is I want you to bring him back at 12:30. But I want you to go to McDonald's across the street, and I want the hamburger, the french fries, the milkshake, the whole thing. I want them to eat all of it. And then I saw what they were talking about. That's a metabolic disorder. So in my report, I wrote that the kid's IQ, he's not retarded. He has a bright, normal IQ. And he has a metabolic disorder, and I explained what went into that. And the hospital called me to come in. The neurologist never sent me anybody else, by the way. That never. If I wanted the neurologist to send me people, I would have said the kid's retarded. You need to put him away, and he's going to get better. But that's not the way I view people. And I went down there, and they found out that the kid had 128 IQ. And he had what was called the DNA metabolite disorder. So that anytime he ate anything that had to do with a cow, the milkshake, the meat, right, cow, he just went off. Well, you have to think about things like that. When you look at a person's behavior, you have to figure, okay, what's causing this? Why are they behaving this way? And it always gets back to the brain, because the brain controls that. And like I said, I've been fixing brains since 1976. And I would like to see what you do. I would like to see the public schools being interested in what you do.
You know, Doctor, it's interesting. I don't have the scientific background, and certainly not the medical background, but I'm actually doing some of this stuff. I look back and we actually did some of the stuff that you are talking about, which helped. We took the plastic bottles away from these kids that came in with drinking Mountain Dews in plastic bottles, like at age 5. And we took all that stuff away, and we tried to get as clean a product as we could find out there, and it's hard to do all that. But we watched their diets. They came in with eating a bag of Doritos. That was their meals, and we got away from all of that stuff. And we're rural, so we have a huge garden, some of it enclosed, because I agree with you with the rain. Some of that's polluted too, and but I look back at some
No, wait. That's okay. That's better than what you buy in the market, even though it rains on it. Better.
Good. Yeah, and I look back at some of these things, and you're right. Even the plastic. When I grew up, all the toys were made out of wood.
Or metal.
Yeah, or metal. And now everything is plastic. And what happens when we get these kids in that are nonverbal, a lot of them are pica eating. They're eating this plastic. We took it all away. We took all that stuff away, and we do other activities with them that are not that. And they have a blast because we just use old fashioned things. And
what kind of food do you give them?
A lot of vegetables and fruit. And to be honest with you, I can remember giving some of these kids, and I'm talking like 10-year-olds, like a green bean. They'd never had one. Never. Like out of our garden. So it tells you that a lot of these kids that are growing up out there are not getting proper.
What kinds of things do you see in their what kind of changes did you see in their behavior?
We definitely saw it. That was part of the breakdown of pulling away from all the crap that we were dealing with. How much, I don't know. You're the doctor part of it, but looking back, all that stuff helped chip away at some of the stuff. And most of the time, the kids, just so you know, I think Emily knows, Doctor, we're not talking a small sample size of kids that have come through our house. We've had 178 kids come through our home, and it's a pretty big, more than anybody in multiple counties in the middle of the state where I am. And a lot of them have changed behaviors from the time they came in our house doing all this stuff, and we undo a lot of the damage. We just change things, and by the time they go out the door, they might be heading to college, And even though they were diagnosed as a special ed student,
I believe you.
with some of this stuff, and so many people got it wrong. And I'm just a parent.
Well, wait. They really didn't get it wrong. You have to go back to the medical, the health system, the healthcare system. And what I tell people is the healthcare system in this country is working exactly like it was supposed to. Exactly. It keeps people sick. So what you end up doing is you have to, because the system is geared against you. It's right from the goes. You're not supposed to get people well. I know that for a fact. You get people well, you're going to get visits from people in higher ups. That happened to me. But you're doing things the right way. Now, if you could just, do you when you give dinner at night, do you give salads?
All the time. All the time.
What kind of protein do you give?
Chicken, almost exclusively chicken. Some of the kids like tuna, but I don't like tuna. And there's only like one or two kids here that usually will go down that road, but all of them have liked chicken. And we don't use the chicken nuggets that are loaded up with
no,
that kind of stuff. It's always, we've done broiled, we've done like rotisserie things and things like that, and usually white meat with as the protein.
Yeah, I mean the skin is good to give them because there's certain amino acids in the skin.
Good to know.
That do you use any kind of supplements with them?
Nope. Should we? Probably. I'm just worried about a lot of stuff because it's so much of it, and I want to give you, for instance, and it's more on the medicine side. Yeah. When these kids come into our house after they've been in 20 homes, 10 homes, 15 homes, they are so loaded up on medications that it's sickening. And I would go back and ask the doctors and follow them, through all the, the providers and the courts and all that stuff. And nobody can give me a reason why they're on 10 different narcotics. And because it goes back for so long. And then what happens, they have a behavior, they double the dose. Instead of 10 milligrams, they go to 20 milligrams. And we do a med cleanse in our house. It took a while for us to have them to allow us to do it here because they were doing it. And if you wanted to do a med cleanse on a kid, you had to bring them to a facility. We got pretty good at judging that kind of stuff because of how many kids have been here. And they allowed us to do the med cleanse. We got them off all the meds so we could see where they were.
That is a vital thing.
And you know what happened? Their behaviors went down.
Right.
And their focus went up. And a kid that might have come in, one kid, and I'll give you one specific example. This kid was in, his grandmother was in New York. There was no other relatives. He was in the foster care system. He was having a ton of behaviors. They didn't know what to do, and they shipped him to Pennsylvania. They wanted to get him back to New York. All the facilities turned him down because of the diagnoses that were on there that he had listed from, like, I don't know when they started diagnosing, probably 5 or 6 up to 15 when we got him. And when he got here, he was on 28 meds. Like 6 meds that could have knocked a horse out, the doctor told me. When this one doctor we went to here, we couldn't find out why he was on all this stuff. So we started DCing all this stuff.
I can tell you why.
And we got him down. He left our house at age 20 into an apartment with some other guys. He used to drool from the mouth from those meds on our couch and not say anything. And now he's on 3 meds because he kind of needs them. They were the right things to in the end. And the other 25 meds are out the window. But I think I understand where you're going with this because it kind of, the pharmaceuticals and the medical can control somebody profit-wise by giving them 25 extra meds.
Well, there's another thing in medicine, and that is you never want to say to a physician that they're wrong.
Right.
I used to do that. I would still do it because I don't care, but still do it. But when you get a person into the hospital, I have a 6-inch binder that, because I review these cases for people. And this is a lady who was 72, and she's intellectually challenged. And probably because she's too old to be autistic. She probably is. And the book, it's a 6-inch binder, and that was for 3 or 4 years of medical records. And she's on a lot of medications. And as you go through and you read this, there's nothing wrong with her. But she's on these medicines. And she ended up in the hospital, which is what I wanted to see. I want to see what they did in the hospital. They took her off of everything and then they put her back on it. Why? Because that's just what they do. If this doctor said it, there's a reason for it and we're going to keep it. Not realizing that when you've got a problem and you give it a medication, it may or may not solve the problem. But another one pops up and they just keep adding medicines to it. And that actually is what gets people sick. Because each of those medicines produce a different series of problems. So one of the things you got to do is you got to back up and find out what was the original problem and try to go from that. When you detox somebody, that's what you got to do. You got to go back to the original problem and start there. Because somewhere they fell off the wagon. And for these kids, I know I did my residency in a residential treatment center. I did my internship in a psychiatric hospital, children. What we know now, what the psychiatric community is beginning to understand, is those drugs really don't work. What does work is pulse electromagnetic activity. That works. But red light will do the same thing that does. And it might be worth it with all your to look at, buying a red light tower. And then the kids sit next to it. If you got 6 kids, they can all sit around it and they can sit there for 30 minutes. See what happens. If you're interested, you can contact me and I'll give you a place where you can buy it cheaper. That would be.
I'm interested.
And the other thing would be looking at their diet and then fixing what might be needed in minerals or vitamins. Mostly B-complex vitamins, because your body doesn't make that. And the other thing they don't make is minerals. And you're right, keeping them away from the sugar. Man, that's just bad. Did any of your kids were diabetic? Were any of them obese?
We've had a few coming in, but we actually, it's interesting, we've looked at almost all of them lost weight because we didn't have all the junk anymore. They were so used to the junk. That was their meals. Literally their meals was junk food.
Because it would give them a sugar high and they wouldn't bother anybody.
Exactly.
It's like in mental hospitals that they give pills to make people docile.
Right.
So, let's control their behavior. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I seriously, you should write a book. Or have somebody write the book for you. Because we need that.
Yeah, I do have a podcast. We are looking at some different things going forward and doing it. What I will tell you is, like you mentioned earlier, the parties to be that are affected by these things, they will retaliate. They will try and shut you down or shut you up. And we adopted the last 3 kids in our house. 3 teens because they would have wound up in institutions, and they've been here a while, and one's profoundly autistic, and they have one's on a mental health rein, the other one's on a trauma train, but they so we can say a lot more now than we were, because I used to say everything, and they would, I'm telling you, they want to shut you up in court. I'll say some of the stuff that I'm telling you now in court, and the provider agency will try and shut me up. And luckily, the judges in our area in family court, because a lot of these cases are in family court, they'd say, "No, I want to hear from Mr. Gagne," and then I'd be forthright and honest about it. And then they couldn't do anything about it. I just worry about if somebody doesn't have the because we've been doing it a long time enough to earn the respect of the judges. They'll pull kids out of the house and everything else. For speaking up.
Do you have a law school around there? You're in Utica, New York, right?
Yeah, Albany Law School is the closest.
Okay. You ought to go talk to them, because the law schools have they're big into social policy now. And if they have a social work school, I would go talk to them, because they can help you.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I worry more about, because you know what happens, Doctor? Some of these kids that have been through this kind of stuff, that were getting all this crap in them, and nobody was saying no, they're aged out now. They want to speak up. So I'm not worried about it. I kind of worry about them sometimes, because I don't want them retaliating.
I'm talking about handling the system.
Oh, yeah.
Right. The lawyers and the social workers, especially the lawyers, because they have, I would assume they have programs in family law.
I'm pretty sure. I'm going to look into it now.
And environmental law. And you're marrying those. I mean, now they have environmental courses in high school. I just went over that with my grandson last night. And they're starting to take note of this. But you're right, they're going to fight back for a couple of reasons. One is they don't like change, and the other thing is you're starting to interfere with their money.
Right.
Okay. But if you want to have a lawyer on your side, because it's like I could go into court and I could say, because I was an expert. So I had you were a witness. I was an expert. There's a difference in how you're handled.
Right.
Right. And you know what I'll tell you, the way judges are, they're going to listen to somebody, and if they think you know what you're talking about, they let you talk. And if you don't, they throw you out.
Right.
They're not
100% agree. Yep.
Right. You can have all the credentials you want, but if the judge doesn't think that you know what you're talking about, you're gone.
Right. I've been very fortunate I'd say for the last 10 years. They've listened to me, and sometimes the county objects, sometimes the provider agency objects to me speaking, but these judges want to hear, they're asking me, and they're letting me get on the record. And I've been able to change it, because a lot of these provider agencies, all the therapeutical part of it, clinical part of it's all done in-house by their own people. Well, I've asked to go outside of that for specific reasons to help somebody. And in the very beginning, they fought me on it. And in the end, the judges, when they call on me and I ask, look, I'd really like an outside set of eyes on this kid, on a neuro part of it or the psychological part of it, judges have been granting it. And you know what happens? The provider agency doesn't really like that, because it's billing. They're losing billing.
Well, they're also getting somebody who's going to look at them.
Right.
And they don't know what they're going to say.
Right.
Right. Most people really don't like that. Most agencies.
Right.
I won't go there. I'll tell you, you have a friend in Robert Kennedy. As crazy as he is,
I like him. I think you got to be crazy to upend the system. You know what I mean?
Well, he's doing a pretty good job of it. I think he made a mistake taking on vaccines, listening too much to people who are conspiracy theorists.
Right.
Without looking at the science.
I like the fact that he's looking into what we're eating, because my wife's in the medical field, and we've both thought for a long time that the crap they're putting in our food is not good for us. And I'm glad that, RFK is looking at that.
Well, it's not good, but you have to have the system in your internal, and your microbiome starts at your nose and goes to the other end. And it's one long tube. And you say, well, how does it start at your nose? Well, what happens when you go in and you smell fried chicken? Your mouth waters. You haven't seen the chicken, you haven't put it in your mouth, but your mouth waters. So a lot of that is what happens. We also know now that your microbiome starts in your mouth, and it's very important that if your gut microbiome isn't working the way it should, you're going to have problems in your mouth microbiome. So it's all one system. And that would be, I would like for us to talk, because I'd like to really find out about the kinds of things that I look at that your kids are doing and have done. And there may be some things that you can give that we can get on a reasonable amount of money, that you can afford, until we can get states to start paying for some. The problem you have with the vitamin mineral supplement programs out there, most of them are crap. They don't even get into your body.
Yeah, that's why I was worried about doing it, because I didn't know.
No.
It was a gimmick,
right, well, it isn't. I was fortunate. I had a guy who, when I did my acupuncture training, he was an herbalist, and he made things for me. Right? I said, "Oh, I got this." The other thing I had was we had a guy here in Dallas who ran a store. It was called Roy's, and all he sold were supplements. So I would go over there and I would say, "Roy," I would be looking at him over and say, "Doc, what are you looking at?" I said, "I'm looking at this." He said, "What for?" And I told him, he says, "No, you don't want that one. You want this one." Because he knew which ones worked and which ones didn't. Most of what you buy in the vitamin store or on your grocery store is junk. It doesn't work because it doesn't get into your body. It has to be engineered to get into your gut. And in order to get in your gut, it has to go past your stomach. And your stomach's just a big pool of acid. So it has to be engineered to make it through your stomach and into your gut where things happen. And then you got to have the right stuff in your blood, the right amount of oxygen in your blood, because oxygen is what heals. So when you took away the sugar, what happens when you eat sugar is your blood thickens up. It's like you have diabetes, but you may not have diabetes, but you have the same effect, and your blood thickens up. So then, if you can take it's gonna be difficult for the blood to get into the capillaries, which is where everything happens. But then you got to make sure you got in the blood what needs to be there. One of them is minerals. So you're feeding your kid out of your garden. So you're doing better in terms of minerals than most people. But we don't know which minerals.
Yeah. We're farmland, and a lot of it was rocky and stuff like that. Would that help with the minerals?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our garden went right over like old rock bed. It used to have a small little lake in it, and that it dried up, and we actually filled some of it in, and the rocks are still there, but the garden went right over it. And the vegetables they grew through the roof.
Right. And that's probably really good because you had the minerals, you had the water, you had what was in the water, which actually one of the things we give people to help them clean their gut out is something called blue-green algae, and that cleans their gut out. Back in the old days, when I started working with these people, I had something I used called Roto-Rooter for your gut, and it would go in there, would clean out your gut, and then we would immediately follow that. That would be first. Then an hour later, we do the blue-green algae thing, which would go in and refluoridate your gut, and that helps your lining of your gut. You only your lining in your gut's only one cell thick, so that's how you get what's called leaky gut, and then you get the poop going out into your bloodstream. That's what gets you sick. Or you don't empty your cells. When you don't empty your cells in that sequence, that's how you get a chronic disease.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is stuff we didn't know back in the 80s and the 90s. I wrote a paper that said the body is battery, and you die because you can't fill the body up. I knew minerals were for that, and the alternator I had was sleep. But we didn't have the science to prove it. Now we do. I wrote there was a connection between the gut and the brain based on the results that I got through my work with breast implant ladies. And we saw what happened with them. So, we're learning a lot. And it's really, we're learning now that one of the ways that we can keep illness down is just by not only what you eat, but what time you eat it and in what order. Because the whole thing is to keep the insulin from being pushed into the blood. You don't have to be a diabetic. It all works the same way. Insulin gets in, and when insulin gets in there, if there's not a place for it to go, it causes inflammation. And that just creates a problem.
Right.
So we are learning a great deal. But the people who make candy and soda pop and things like that, they're going to fight. But people like you can make a big difference.
We saw the difference, and I didn't even have the scientific background, doctor, by not giving them that Mountain Dew. And
but you got common sense.
Right. I just didn't give it to them.
I just talked with my partner who's starting a podcast, when we're talking about farmland, moving back to them. And he said, this is just common sense for people.
Right.
Critical thinking, common sense. But we don't allow people to do that.
Right. Fully agree.
Right. The school doesn't. So you had how many kids go through this?
178. We know where they are too, and it's unfortunate to the agency because they don't know where they are. But these kids come back for the holidays. They come back and see us. I just talked to one the other day. It's in Georgia because they're all over the place now. And like I said, there's a lot of them that become successful, and they thank us. They might have only been in my house for like a year or 2 years, but they thank us and they tell me. And we got some words out here from these kids that came right from the kids that aged out and went on to do good things. They were their mom and dad because we're the ones that stood up and tried, like you said, the common sense. Tried to put common sense around these guys, and make good decisions and not do what everybody else did. And probably the most important thing, doctor, that we did is we listened to them. They knew we always had their back. And if they had a problem, we were going to fight for them and stand up for them. And it was a lot easier to take away when we have success and the other kids in the house who had gotten off all the Mountain Dew and Doritos, and a new kid comes in that's, say, 7 or 8 years old, they would tell the kid, that's not good for you. And you would never know that they were on the same stuff 5 years before that, the same crap. So it's worked. It's, with the peer part of it, and it's worked because we've been sticking to our guns with it, and we've had success stories because of it, and gotten kids adopted and out of this whole stupid system.
I know you're local. You were on local TV.
Yeah.
have you been on like NPR or any of the national networks?
Nope. I don't know if it's, I don't have the fancy letters after my name. I think but I have a lot of lived experience. And I usually get on those local TVs because I really never been about making it about me. But I do get on those things because I get a project done and everybody wonders how you did it, and I'm kind of the one that was behind all of it. So I wind up being on TV for those reasons. But one of the reasons I started the podcast was to try and get some of this out there because there's a lot of frustrated people out there right now, parents and families and other foster parents and everybody else wondering what to do in certain situations. And we want to kind of inspire them to realize they can speak up and make some changes in these kids, and they're going to get far better results.
Tell me about who pays for this. How do you pay for the chicken?
We just do it ourselves. I'm supposed to be retired right now. I've been in the corporate world. I've owned my own businesses. This is the best thing I've ever done, and I don't get paid. My wife is in the medical field.
Does the state pay you? Do they give you a stipend for each kid?
They give us a stipend up until a certain age, but believe me,
it doesn't cover.
It basically covers junk food. It doesn't cover anything decent. And when you've got a 15-year-old where we have to pay school expenses out of pocket, like for him to be on a basketball team, if say it's $500, and it doesn't even cover that kind of stuff. And we just do it because we get the kids want to do it, and it makes it. They have a really well-rounded life because of it, and we just do it. Like I said, the stipend is not enough to cover some of the stuff. And we're still repairing stuff in our house because in the beginning, these kids come in and wreck stuff, and I mean punch holes in walls and carve up their beds and everything else, and until we get them. My biggest thing is about that other than they come back and see us, is the fact that a kid that might come in carving up a bed and punching holes in the walls never does it again, and then realizes that he doesn't need that outlet to go do that anymore. He doesn't do that stuff anymore.
No, because that's driven by his brain and the sugar and the other chemicals in his brain. That's where that's driven from.
Right.
I was thinking that one of the things the social work school may help you with is finding out who in the legislature is sympathetic to children. There's always somebody who is a bleeding heart liberal. That's fine, but they're really there to help kids. And that is one thing that the social work school can help you with. In fact, when you tell them what you're doing, I would think that there's a college of education that trains special ed teachers, and they would be interested in this, because you can take some of the things you do and apply it in public school, where they can control these kids with their diet and behaviorally without the medication. We have someone new.
Yeah, we have Marianne of Waikiki. Hi, Marianne.
Okay. Hola from San Carlos, Mexico. Great to be here. I just am going through. I just had a delivery from Tucson, Arizona for the Acts of Kindness series. So we're going through them. Leon said he would be joining us in a half hour. The book is Cool Acts of Kindness, where I'll be reading for the book club. And he'll be joining us. So we got good things. We're shifting the energy to our fourth book. It's being recognized by the United Nations and airline ambassadors with Clean Water Foundation, as Leon is the founder. And all classroom teachers in the United States of America can receive copies of the books from donorschoose.org. It's donorschoose.org. My first book, Underwater Acts of Kindness, where we just read the book for the last couple of months, a chapter a week, was recognized by Marilyn Rogers. She was a special education teacher in Kamiley Charter Schools on the island of Oahu, Hawaii, where I lived in Waikiki, Hawaii, as a sign language interpreter for a deaf man for over a decade at the Unity Church of Hawaii. She told me about Donors Choose, and she requested 50 books, and she was funded in 2 weeks, and Amazon shipped out the books. And I was able to go on campus, and we had a slideshow presentation. I had brought the puppets out with Dr. Fingers, the finger spelling hermit crab. The kids were running on campus. Where's Dr. Fingers? Where's Dr. Fingers? Well, guess what? I just got Folk Manus puppets delivered down to me in San Carlos, Mexico. I got the mini puppets of Dr. Fingers. I had the mini horse puppets of Pono, the Hawaiian polo pony. I have some hummingbirds. I'm writing another book for Mexico down here. The colibri is the word for hummingbird. It's called Humming Acts of Kindness, and we'll be launching that this summer. Dedicated to Alex Mendoza, a restaurant owner here who does book fairs, and is going to introduce me to a literary governor in the state of Sonora, Mexico here, to present my book series and to translate them into Spanish and English and to get them approved on the reading list. So this is all good energy that's been happening down here. And again, Leon will be here, and I will read the book dedicated to him, Cool Acts of Kindness. And we are also going on a catamaran cruise with Brennan Williams on World Water Day, and a sound bath healing. So exciting things are happening. I'm real excited here. There's the flyer. My book author name is Marianne of Waikiki. It's my sign language name, my book author name, and why. Well, you'll see me a little bit later. I wore fancy hats on the sailboat that I lived on the island of Oahu, Waikiki, Hawaii. And that was how my deaf friend could know where I was standing or positioning at the Unity Church of Hawaii or different events, because he would know where his interpreter was because of the fancy hat. So that's how Marianne of Waikiki started. Now we all can multiply the acts of kindness, because I also found out about Awesome Grant Foundation Awards. Suzanne Sims, my co-writer, introduced me, and she won $1,000 for a thrift store, the musical. Well, last 2 summers ago, I applied and I won the $1,000 Honolulu chapter, and we dedicated my second book, Rabbit Acts of Kindness, No Bully, to the Hawaii School for the Deaf and Blind. And part of that grant, I hired Jay Stoyan with the Disability Channel out of Toronto to interview me with my book series. And there's some photos here. And we gifted the Hawaii School for the Deaf and Blind a water unit value $150, as well as the books Rabbit Acts of Kindness, No Bully for Anti-Bullying Month. So we want to multiply it. And I also applied for the librarian who is deaf at the Minnesota chapter of Awesome Grant Foundation, and we won another $1,000. So the books were ordered, as well as other deaf education products that were necessary. And again, these are kind of signing puppets, and no one has done that for our deaf and hard of hearing community, giving them tangible educational tools with sign language capabilities for special ed teachers, for sign language interpreters, with the messages for ocean cleanup, anti-bullying, and climate change. So my vision is to bring these books into animation movies with the sign language characters, and we have a soundtrack by Lucy and the Perfect Wave. So I want to give a big thanks to Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel and On the Mark TV, who is networking with 220 networks, and Dr. Anthony Sorelli of Nonprofit TV is showcasing my book trailers in Denny's restaurants in Texas. Who would have thought this dream would come true? And we still need to bring them into animation movies, and I still got a creative head with additional books, writing for the summer. I was just down at the San Carlos Farmers Market talking with the SPCA because I have ideas to write a book for them, the Rotary Club, the Colibri Restaurant. It'll be translated into Spanish and English, and I can produce it now with Chat GPT and with the mini puppets and the large puppets. And, we were talking with the SPCA about, I'm going to write a book about the street dogs of San Carlos. Remember the movie or the TV series, The Streets of San Francisco? Well, it's going to be the street dogs of San Carlos. And so a lot of creative ideas that I have. And through ChatGPT, it's allowed me to do this faster. It's still a learning process. And I do hire fiber graphic designers out of Pakistan. So I'm up in the middle of the night with them working on things. And we're looking forward to this World Water Day event with Brennan, the sound bath. Now, we went out a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night with Captain Alfredo and Lorena, the cruise director. She's the director of awesomeness with a group of about 4 people. It was a family. And Brennan pulled out the sound bath bowl, no, the triangle and the harp, and the dolphins were starting to come around the boat. And the other boat didn't have as much dolphins around it. And then he sat there and played the magical flute. And they were right underneath the boat looking bright-eyed to him. What a magical experience that we had. And last week we were at the bazaar in San Carlos, where we did live. I was like, live on the spot there. With all the volunteers for Scotty Thrift Store and all the money that goes to the EMT's salaries to keep the infirmary open and ambulances as they built a brand new hospital down here, which now accepts U.S. Medicare and Medicaid, which is awesome, as well as American Dental, is working with my United Healthcare. And Dr. Will is a chiropractor that comes down every 2 weeks into my apartment to relieve my back pain as well as my vertigo symptoms that has occurred back again. And he's healing other people too. So we have a really good community. And so I was down there showcasing the books this morning, and Dr. Will just came over and dropped off all the books. And Captain Carla brought the books to me yesterday too, and she's put the sailboat in the water. And her sister is deaf. Her stepsister is deaf and works at the Tucson School for the Deaf. So we're doing great, amazing things and multiplying the acts of kindness. So we want to get that out to special education and Department of Education. How easy it is to request books on donorschoose.org. That's donorschoose.org. So I'm going to take a break here. I've been talking all morning. Leon is supposed to be joining us 12:12 right now. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say. We have another woman that's going to join us on the catamaran who did drumming in South America. I'm so excited for this sound bath catamaran. It's just going to be amazing. And again, we'll be videotaping it for On the Mark TV and Nonprofit TV and United Nations. So thank you right now for the time. I'm going to get some water. I'm grateful to have this fresh, clean drinking water. That is our birthright. And we're getting these water units out. Leon will share more how he's doing it around the world. And again, you can go to cleanwaterfoundation.org at Seattle, and you can request the books. And we'll start the book reading when he joins us. So Emily, there is a video trailer specifically for Clean Water Foundation now. It's not the first one of Underwater Acts of Kindness about the garbage patch dedicated to Boynton Slat. This one is dedicated to Leon. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Let me do this here. So Steve, you said you had a podcast. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, it's actually three of them altogether. I have a
Okay.
co-host with one of them that we started a long time ago, several years ago, called Finding Common Ground. It's anything with disabilities and autism, foster care. We speak about a lot of advocacy things and doing things differently, and we relate a lot. A lot of our listeners are actual parents and families and stuff like that. The single moms and all that we get on there. I started another one. She has one that's called Motherload. She talks to the moms, and I started another one called Dadability, which is brand new. And the reason I did that is because there's so many dads and father figures and paternal figures that are not in the picture with a lot of this stuff. And I'll go to a Zoom meeting. My own wife will say, "There's 200 women in there, and there's no other guys. What kind of meeting is this?" And it's telling because there's just not a lot of men involved in this for a variety of reasons. We could go back and forth with all the reasons why, but I wanted to direct it to the dads out there and the paternal figures in our children's lives and our families' lives, and get them on our podcast and to speak about their own experiences and maybe direct some topics towards just them.
Awesome. So welcome, Jim, Santa.
Greetings, everybody. How are we doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. Hey, Jim. Hey, Doc. Hey,
Hey,
Steve.
good
How are you?
luck. Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing this incredible Pi Day?
Well, it's exciting because we're supposed to get, 6 to 8 inches of snow tonight. And further down towards the cities are supposed to get 14 to 20, so they can have that.
Well, remember, we need the moisture,
We do. We do. We
right?
do.
Right?
We do.
I'm not even going there, Jim.
I know. I know.
We
I
had
say
brown
that.
grass here a week ago, and since then we've had 6 inches or 7 inches of snow, and we're supposed to get another 6.
Yeah, we're having to get the irrigation system going probably earlier than we ever have. It's crazy.
That's crazy already.
I know.
What's everybody up to today?
Too much. Santa, I don't know if you guys, or Jim, I don't know if you guys have met Steve and or Dr. Harvey.
Hi, Santa Papa John.
Hi, Marianne. How are you?
I met
I'm
Marianne.
fantastic.
Met Steve before.
Santa Papa John, it was like Christmas today because Captain Carla came down and Amazon shipped the books to Tucson. And her sister works at the school for the deaf there. And so I got the books delivered, part of them. And then Dr. Will just was here. He's a chiropractor that comes down from Tucson to heal us down here, especially me and my back, and make sure I'm balanced with my vertigo. And I got the mini puppets to go with the book. So I was at the farmer's market. I did a book signing. We're going to gift some books to the Navarrete Bilingual School, my neighbor girls, where we met with the principal a year and a half ago with some other authors. So I'm excited to share the Acts of Kindness series. Leon should be joining us as well. I'm gonna read the first chapter since I'm the only one that has the real first book, and it's being shipped to you, Santa Papa John. And I'm so grateful for everybody's support in this project. Talking about autism, sign language is a solution, especially for autistic. And we created a YouTube channel with the characters doing the ABC with Eve, the finger spelling bumblebee, and she arrived down here. Now, I didn't get Chelsea the courageous sign language chicken because I have ongoing issues with my left hand ligament that Dr. Will, and I wanted to get her, but if I got her, that means more movement for me, which means more pain. So we're not going to do that. But we're moving forward. So Eve, the finger spelling bumblebee, is here. And I got to be the lady in red, a book signer at the event, and the musicians played that song. And I have the book Cool Acts of Kindness. I got Rapid Acts of Kindness, No Bully. I got Righteous Acts of Kindness. I got the mini horses that you have too. They're so super cute. I'm going to write a book about the horses down here. Now, the horses down here like to come visit our garbage cans. So, Santa, those are the culprits around the neighborhood who's going through. Oh my gosh! And great gracias, my good friend here at the farmers market. We buy fresh vegetables. He drops it off for me. What great service! That everyone's doing. So back to the horses, Santa Papa John. They're kind of the culprits for some pollution, plastic around here, because they get into our garbage cans. They're looking for food. I put compost out there, but we go out some days and oh my gosh, trash everywhere. The street dogs too. So we're gonna write some books this summer about it with the SBCA and the Rotary Club and into Spanish and English. So I got some great creative energy going with these people. They're doing amazing fundraisers. I went to the Follies this week. Brennan was in it. Got Underwater Acts of Kindness, a Rotary champion wants a couple of book signings to take to her grandchildren in Virginia. And we got the coloring books, Chelsea. So again, I didn't get the puppet so I can rest my wrist on my left hand of the ligament. But we got Eve, the finger spelling bumblebee. So I'm so excited. The Colibri is going to showcase the books, and we're going to be going on the cruise with Brennan. And another friend of his, she did drumming in South America. So we have these set up for World Water Day events, and we will be showcasing that through On the Mark TV. There's our World Water Day flyer, and there's our sponsors here. And I will let Leon join us. He is grocery shopping. He will join us and tell us what he's doing, bringing clean water units worldwide, computers, and I will read the chapter when he joins us. So thank you so much for narrating Underwater Acts of Kindness. It's brought tears of joy and was talking about Dr. Fingers, the finger spelling hermit crab, and bringing him on the campus of the special education school, Kamiley Charter Schools. And again, for our autistic community, these are great educational tools and puppets. And we have a YouTube channel to learn the ASL finger spelling alphabet. And the World of Ability Network is showcasing it. So again, it's the Acts of Kindness series. We are being federally trademarked by Dr. Lydia Orzoko Louise, my intellectual property attorney. We applied for the federal trademark on February 26, 2026. Can you say all that together there? So I'm moving forward. So that creative energy, that thought to action, source energy that was guided me through meditation at the Unity Church of Hawaii, that I was going to write a series of children's sign language books with puppets, and I laughed. Well, here I am today. So I need your help to bring them into animation movies and talking about hearing loss. We have 500 million people worldwide now with a hearing loss. We have millions of moms and dads coming home from being of service who can't hear their own children or grandchildren. So again, these are educational tools where military families could Skype to their children, know what they're doing, and learning the ASL alphabet, their names, and basic signs such as peace, love, happiness, and thanks. So take it away. I'm going to take a breath here. I've been speaking all morning. And Leon will join us too. So there's a nice photo shoot with me and Dr. Fingers. And Emily, if you'd be kind to play Clean Water Foundation video when Leon joins us. I've created 4 book trailers as well to possibly pitch it to Netflix or to a kindness channel with On the Mark TV. So I've been doing a lot of creative work and working with my fiber graphic team in the middle of the night there in Pakistan. So our tagline is "So go out and play." I'm Marianne of Waikiki.
All right.
There we go. Steve, who are you and what you do and where are you from, young man?
Yeah, and Steve, what were you talking about just as I came on? Because I found that I caught the last few sentences and I had some thoughts.
Yeah, I think the last thing I was talking about was I've got some podcasts out there, and when you work with disability and autism and foster care and all the things that I work with, there's not a lot of dads involved. And so I started a podcast with that part of it because I sit in too many rooms, I sit in too many whether it's Zoom or in person. It's so many tables and too many are single moms or moms and the husbands are off working or whatever. And there's just not a lot of dads involved. And I created a podcast that's brand new along with the one that we've had for several years and trying to get more dads involved and more paternal figures into all these kids' lives.
I think that's incredible. What's your new podcast called?
Dadability.
Dadability. Love it. Love it. Where can someone listen to it?
I would go to Finding Common Ground. That's the name of the first podcast, and everything's grouped in there right now until we start separating some of these things. But Finding Common Ground has about 2 years of projects that we've been working on and podcasts and everything else from all these fields that I'm involved in. We have a website now, FCG, which is the Finding Common Ground initials, fcgadvocacy.org. And more importantly, there's hundreds of thousands of advocates out there across the United States. I'm one of the ones that's a doer, and I go create things, and you'll see some of that on the website that I've gone out and created some projects that make it happen instead of relying on everybody else for our kids and then it doesn't happen. So,
well, I was just about to say, Steve, you know what happens when we rely on someone else to get something done, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Not all the time. You gotta, and I tell you what, actions do always speak louder than words, and sometimes people surprise you.
Once in a while, Jim, I do agree. We can't rule out everybody, but from past history, we can rule out 70% of them.
That's fair.
Jim, to your point, what my goal is, and because I should be retired. My wife would tell you that I should be retired. She's still working, but I'm not retired. I probably work more now than I ever did working. But my point is, if I can inspire somebody to do some of this stuff and help create some different things, and so that there's not so much apathy and so much stuff, and I think it snowballs, and we're doing it. That you weren't on when I was talking to Emily about we created this ability bus, which is a disability bus in the middle of New York State, and I asked 20 different nonprofits if they wanted to go with this concept and buying this 15-passenger bus with a wheelchair van on it and everything else, because there was a lot of transportation issues in the disability world, foster care world, autism world, and profound autism world, and all that. And they all said no. So I took it to the veterans of all people, and they put me on their board. And my first initiative, I pitched them this bus. I found the bus for them. I showed them this is the one I want. They bought it the next day. Next day. And now it's 2 years later. We don't charge a dime for families or kids or anybody with disabilities on that bus. And not just that, but where you might have ARC where they might run it during the day for maybe a half hour after their programming. We run nights and weekends so they can go to a baseball game, so they can go to a movie, and we take their whole family. We can take their one-on-one aid, and we don't have all the restrictions that they have with the states and provider agencies.
See, I love that, because oftentimes veterans can they will give back. They are so willing to give back, and we should thank them even more for not only the service they've done, but the service that they're doing. I think that is such a beautiful story. Thank you, veterans.
Yeah, Jim, and what's interesting is I was telling the doctor and Emily earlier, somebody caught wind of this with our state, brought a film company to my house. They came in here and filmed the weekend because I have an autistic son who's an adult, but we've done a lot of foster care with kids with autism and disabilities for years. And we have a lot of experience with that. But this film company come in, they saw this ability bus and loved it. He calls me up after he visits one other stop and sends me this proposal of opening a national 501c3 nonprofit. They want to underwrite 2 buses in every state in 2026 because of this little thing that we did in Utica, New York.
it's sometimes the little things, they generate the movements, right? Tsunamis start with a little movement, but then as they gain, they get more and more powerful. So hopefully you can be the tsunami of a difference for this. It just warms my heart. Go ahead, Papa
I was
John.
just going to say, Jim, I'm totally agreeing with that statement. That's amazing. And it starts with knocking on that first door. It starts with taking that first step. I just was networking with a bunch of people earlier on, Steve. I'm going to introduce you. I just sent you a connection request on LinkedIn, but I networked with a young lady who is a travel agent that specializes in family travel with autistic and neurodivergent families because of all the extra requirements, all the extra steps that are needed to make it a fun, happy, joyful vacation. Because, like she said, it's amazing how many times you'll get to this building or that building and, oh, wait a minute, you're in a wheelchair. Sorry, we don't have a ramp, or we don't have this, or we don't have that to accommodate. And she said, it wasn't my intention to start that, but she said, I've got 3 autistic boys, and it just cornered its way because I kept running into those people that kept telling me I was on vacation and I ran into a place that didn't provide this, and this, and it just made my vacation a living hell.
Yes,
but it's those little steps, which is what you're doing, Steve. It is going to change how many thousands of lives to say, we can accommodate you. We can make this happen for you. Can we put you on the schedule?
Yep.
And we can give you self-esteem.
There,
increase your self-esteem.
That one is so important for
so critical
with disabilities.
So critical, doctor.
Right.
Yes.
Make them feel wanted.
John,
part of the group.
Yeah, the second one is more important than important. I think is they want to be included.
Right.
And some, it's getting better and better all the time, but we still run into the knuckleheads that want to have their heads up their butts and say, "Oh, we don't need to do that yet." Whatever yet is.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yet is we don't want to change our environment too much because we don't know where we're going to end up.
It might
affect
some other people.
Right. Yep. It will affect us. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So kudos to you, Steve. Great job. And I've been hammering it all week. I do a daily video every day to promote happiness, positive. You get out of bed, you put your feet on the floor, you've got a choice right off the bat. Are you going to be miserable and grumpy today, or are you going to be happy and cheerful and positive? And it's a simple way, but it can change your whole outlook on how your day is going to be.
Yep. And I start out with my morning. I love that. I start out with my morning within 2 groups where I create an intention for the day and 3 things that I'm grateful for. And within a month, your whole perspective on life shifts to be a more gratitude based. And if you can be gratitude based, you can handle whatever the world throws at you.
Well, another simple thing, Stephen, and what you said is so important, but it's like, don't go into a meeting like this, Jim,
right,
with your binders on, because you never know the conversation on which way it's going to go, and how you deal with different subjects is going to create the conversation to create the relationship.
John, I'll give you a for instance. Yesterday I was in a meeting. They put me on this policy board for this national group that's working with medical and health and dental because of the wait list and everything our kids are on. And I said nothing. It was my first meeting. I said nothing. I was reading the room. I was listening. But I didn't go in there with my blinders on. I went in with wide open. And I sent the executive director after that 5 proposals. 5. She called me last night and asked if she could Zoom. We had a meeting. She met with me almost 2 hours. She wants to implement some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I went in there with eyes wide open and not narrow focused that, geez, this is the way we've always done it in our policy meetings. And it kind of changed. It changed.
And it's beautiful because the more action you're willing to do, that's where results are generated, is going with this really open mind, just getting ready for.
Uh-oh. Nope.
We lost him.
I'll jump on his statement there. The key word of that whole paragraph that he said was action. How
Right.
many people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk? Doctor, you know what I'm talking about.
And it all starts with one.
Yeah.
All starts with one. One has to do it, and then from there on it grows.
Yeah. Steve, I'll give you a little bit of one of my favorite things that I'm doing right now that has changed my life right above my head. I'm a storyteller. What does Santa do after Christmas? I'm a storyteller. And I haven't been told what a lost art, but I am now reading stories. Every Wednesday night I do it for free online. But through the power of networking, people keep telling me to twist it, tweak it, add a little bit of concept, add a little bit of idea. My newest one is, and I'm so excited about it, is I'm reaching out to nursing homes. I'm reaching out to group homes with autistic children, assisted living, because I want to read stories. So I've created a 1-hour interactive program of reading stories and questions and answers with Santa. And I can do it on a Zoom platform, so I can do it anywhere in the world. And as I keep talking to these activity directors, not only do a lot of these nursing homes and senior care have the common TV in there, but some of these buildings have theaters already built into them. And my sister is an investor in one of these places. She said, man, you'd be perfect for the theater arrangement because there's cameras, because that's where we hold meetings, where you can be on the screen and you can see who's out there, and you can say hello to Bill and Sue and Steve, and all of a sudden you say some of these residents' name while you're saying a story or at the end of a story. Wow, it's going to light their eyes up. And I'm now promoting it. I did my first big blitz of 250 emails to nursing homes yesterday morning. So yes, I know it was Friday the 13th. I know a lot of people don't read emails till Monday morning. So I'm excited to see where this is going. And it's, I think of mom and dad, Steve, looking down at me going, now here's a young man that hated English. I needed a tutor in grade 10 to get through grade 10 English. Well, because I was a party boy and I like to partake in a little extracurricular activities every now and then. But you couldn't get me to pick up a book, and I hated anything to do with the English language, even though I spoke English. But I got a tutor and I made it through grade 10 English. And now I'm reading stories, and I can think of mom and dad looking down at me going, see, I told you, young man,
Right.
I get you. But the simple reality of it is, Steve, and it's what you said, you're knocking on the door, you're suggesting an idea will create how many smiles, giggles, and incredible memories, because now they're not, well, we can't do that because we got no way to get you to point A, point B, point C. For me, how many times have you heard the story of residents in a nursing home or a senior care and getting dropped off by families going, see you at your funeral, I'm not coming back to visit, and they don't get any visitors. So I've created this program, and everybody that I talk to is just so excited to see where this thing is going to go, and I'm going to have fun with it. But just like doctors got many different ideas to help different communities, the three of us on the screen, even Marianne, we want to help other people. And it's like we come into a meeting going, how can I help you? Not, I'm selling you this because it's my idea. How can I help you take your idea to the next level? When you started telling that, I'm going, yeah, I'm introducing you to Mary. I'm introducing you to Lori. And I'm sure Lori's going to want to be on your podcast. Mary does so many different podcasts now. And I will introduce you to both of them. But it's, how do we get the word out about our wonderful ideas without spending $10,000? It's called networking.
Right.
Speaking of podcast, Anta, I'll be doing a podcast second Tuesday and Thursday of the month, and I'm going to have you on my podcast.
Oh, I appreciate
because
that.
it has to do for the what's it called, for the love of health, and it's going to talk about health and the connection it has to everybody, because
Well,
your health is your wealth.
I was just going to say mental health is so important to especially our senior members. I think of Dad, who I just lost at the end of November, but don't be sorry for me. He was 1 month short of 94. He was still driving. He was still doing his own grocery shopping. He was still cooking his own meals. His mindset was sharp as a tack, and he said, I'm going to live to 100. Unfortunately, he had a nasty fall, which quickly changed his mindset. But before that, he would stop at the VFW on his way home from the grocery store and have a shot of Fireball with the girls, because in his mindset he said, I feel great, I feel honored to be alive, and I'm going to share that with other people. And he was so involved with politics, and he loved his sports.
And that's why he lived that long.
Yeah.
Right.
When we lost Mom, he said, you know what, I've got some health issues. Once the health issues got cleared up, he said, man, I feel awesome. I'm going to live to be 100. And I said, what is stopping you? And he said, nothing. I'm going to do it. Well, unfortunately, life happens. But, the reality of it is, especially when you get senior members of society, they start to give up. They start to stop communicating. They stop just interacting with people and workers and whatever they can, family members, because they're missing out on something or whatever the case may be. Doctor, you can elaborate more than that.
I'm actually doing a series on Quora about aging and getting older. And one of the most important things when you get older is you got to have contact.
Yeah.
You have to have social contact. It's the same thing with the autistic kids. They have to have contact too with their group. People just need that. We're social animals.
Yes.
That's what we are. We're social animals, and we need to have the contact.
Emily, do you agree?
Yep, I do.
And you're part of many different groups in Wisconsin, and what Doctor just said, it's the communication factor in those groups that's keeping you active and involved and moving forward. And we just have to encourage people to do that regardless of their ages. I just did a video. I do a video every day, Steve, but on Saturdays I call it Adrenaline Saturday, and my background was the guy was jumping off a cliff with one of those wingsuits on. And I'm going, man, those guys are nuts. They're crazy. But it's stepping out of your comfort zone every now and then, which we all have to do, to knock on that door, to open that door and say, hey, I want to try something different. I want to learn something different. And you, Steve, you just said it. You went to a meeting, you sat there, didn't say a word, but you were taking notes here. You were taking notes with the pen and said, you guys are thinking about some ideas in the wrong direction. Can I make a suggestion? You didn't force it on them. You didn't say, well, I'm new to the group and we're going to do it my way because my way is the best way. Well, you're going to get shot in the, kneecap if you have an attitude like that. But if you make suggestions on how, because we all sometimes look at things in a certain way. And sometimes someone can take that idea and twist it and tweak it a little bit and make you look at the same idea in a 60, 80, 100-degree difference. And you go, holy crap, that's genius because you're taking an idea and making it better. Well, isn't that how the world moves forward?
When you do these groups with the nursing homes, is it a two-way Zoom or is it just a one-way? You're on the
it's going to be set up as a two-way Zoom.
Yeah, and I think you're going to be amazed when you see the smiles that you create on their face just by looking at you.
Well, and the simple fact is, I want to know. Give me, to the activity director, give me 5 names in your group today so I can say their names. And the minute you start pinpointing someone that they're there participating, boy, it's going to light them up like a Roman candlestick.
It will.
But it's like you said, Doctor, it's the interaction that they're missing out on that I want to give them to bring the smiles and happiness to their faces.
Just that somebody shows an interest.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah. My mother was a director of nursing for 25 years at a nursing home, and I know this is a true statement. She'd come home and say, well, the next time you come to work for me, I want you to go say hi to Bob because Bob doesn't get any visitors. And she would make me, not that I didn't want to, but I was a young whippersnapper of 7, 8, 9 years old, and I'd go over and have lunch with her every now and then because it was not that far from school and I could sneak away or whatever the case may be. But go pop into Bob's room and just say, hi, how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Just say something to him because he doesn't get any visitors.
I bet he lit up and smiled.
Yeah. And this
Doctor and John, I can tell you firsthand that is so true. I've done some ombudsman work in nursing homes, and I would go into these nursing homes, and they would say, you would think that there was all about they're complaining about their food or complaining about that. All they wanted was somebody to say hello, just like you both just said. They want somebody that's going to stay in the room and have a conversation, even if it's a minute, to stay and talk to them. That was the number one thing. And I would go back and tell, it was this program. They don't want all this stuff. And yeah, there's sometimes some complaints about the food and all that kind of stuff. You guys need to develop something to get people in there to talk to them, Zoom or in person. It's going to make all the difference in their quality of life.
Yeah.
What they're doing here in Texas is they're pairing nursing homes with children's hospitals.
Okay.
And they're bringing the kids in to talk to the elders, or the elders go to visit. Yeah. Either way, it's a win-win.
Absolutely,
win-win for both.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's something that I thought, man, that's a great idea. The problem is you got to get people who aren't immersed in the they're not immersed in the structure, in the society, in the culture. There's somebody else who comes in from the outside and can offer something low key, just like you did. I do that a lot. I'll sit there and have you ever all thought about, or what would happen if you did this? That's it. You just have to say it, and then you back away.
Yeah.
And you end up with people actually taking that and saying, oh, we never thought of that. Okay.
How often are those words coming out in a conversation?
All the
Incredible.
time. All the time. And they go, oh, that's a pretty good idea.
Sorry to jump in on you. Sorry, Dr. H. For me, it was, okay, why is my YouTube channel not growing? I was getting lots of views, but I wasn't getting any subscribers. So what do? You start asking people that are more successful, how is their YouTube channel growing? What did you do? How did you change it? What made people attracted to you? Well, Santa, why don't you start reading stories and see what that does for you? Okay, so then I took it to the next level. Geez, Santa, why don't you take it and personalize it and create a story where you say the children's name in the story? So I'm pretty successful for that. And now it's like, gee, Santa, take it to the next level and start reading your stories to the nursing homes. And I'm going, the power of networking, because someone is looking at the light in a different way that can change a whole idea.
When you told me you were doing that with to the kids, I thought, wow, that's amazing. Because what kid doesn't like to see your Santa Claus say his name?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I network with Zach Clayton. You know Zach Clayton, don't you, Doc? And
Yeah.
I made stories for his grandchildren. And he says, once, twice, three times a month, Grandpa, can you play that video because Santa said my name? And this is not me saying it. This is his grandchildren saying it, because I created a memory that those kids are excited about.
The thing is, the psychological part of that is the only thing a kid has that is his, and his alone, is his name.
Yep.
That's his. And he owns that. It's very important to kids. The other thing they have is their bed. You don't want to mess with the kid's bed. Don't do that. Bad news.
Don't do that.
But that's why.
Steve, you're more specialized than I am, but I'm starting to deal with a lot of parents that have autistic children. The autistic children bring another spectrum to that as well, because they have their certain things or certain activities that they have to do or they must see. Otherwise, their day is totally wrecked or not complete.
We usually can find those things too that really improve their quality of life. We have a kid that's in here. He's 17 years old. He's been in a foster care since 4, and he's been in our house probably the last 7 or 8 years. And we just put papers in to adopt him because I don't want him in an institution. We're going to take him. And you know what he likes? He likes the old 8-track tapes, and he doesn't even watch the movie. He goes to the credits on the end of the movies and rewinds that over and over and over again. And he will recite it. And then if he's not doing that, his other thing is he goes on TV, he'll go on he watches the commercials, and he repeats these things from either the movie or a commercial, like these one sentences things, and over and over and over again. And he'll beam. And we tell the story because my wife ordered something from UPS, and he went out to the, he answered the door first. He usually doesn't, but he did. I think I was upstairs. He told the UPS driver, "Keep the change, you filthy animal," which came out of Home Alone. We still laugh about it. It's hilarious. And this, we had to educate the UPS driver. He realized that, geez, and I told him, he likes to recite these things, but Michael, his name is Michael. He beamed over that. He was able to say this to somebody. He doesn't talk much. He hardly says anything, but he said that.
Well, Mary's got a little boy that is really high on the spectrum, and I was talking to her last night, and we had a little chit chat, and she says, he's got you on his tablet, he's got you on YouTube, and he'll sit and watch your stories.
Yes.
I don't even have to tell him. He knows exactly where you are. He knows how to follow you, and he knows how to pull up your stories. And I'm going, that's pretty cool, you know? But he doesn't really talk that much. And he's a little hyper, as you know, as you well know that, autistic children are. But I've met both of them, and the one time she had her daughter who was about 11, I think she's about 11, and usually she doesn't sit still for more than 6, 7, 8 minutes at a time, and she's got to run here and run there. She started watching me reading a story, and Mary said, I couldn't believe it. She actually sat and listened to you read your whole hour. So 55 minutes of reading a story, and she didn't move. So I know it works. I know I just got to get the word out there. And it's networking, telling people what I do, and I'm looking for those connections.
What do you think?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Just quickly, Emily, I reached out to Emily in a chat to get me your contact, all you guys. And Papa John, the reason I would like yours is because I have a lot of those kids that would absolutely listen to you. Autistic, they might even be nonverbal. They're going to sit there and listen to you.
Yes, they will.
And absolutely, I'll throw, Emily's got my contact, but I'll throw it in the chat as well.
I put mine in there too, Steve. I already connected with you on
Yes,
that.
I got you that. I got yours already.
Right.
But I didn't mean to interrupt you, Doctor, so go ahead.
Nah. I was just going to say, what do you think it is that allowed that child to sit for that length of time, having not done that before?
Was it the curiosity of the story? Was it the curiosity that I was Santa? Was it the curiosity that...
I think it's your voice.
It could be.
The resonance frequency of your voice.
I have a very calming voice.
Right.
Yeah. And the more consistent I am with this, the more they notice it, the more they see it, the more they're going to be comfortable with it. And that's where I truly believe once I start cracking open these doors to these group homes with autistic adults and children in it, they're going to be glued to watch me because I'm going to be consistent. And we know from statistics, and Steve, you can back me up on this. Once I say it's going to be 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, they're going to be sitting in front of that TV waiting for it to start because that's just the way they're programmed.
John, you're right. We actually have a kid in our house that doesn't use clocks or watches. It's internal.
Yep.
Once I got him a couple times in front of you at 4 o'clock, I would never have to tell him it was time. It just he internalizes it, and he would be sitting in front of that TV at 4 o'clock without even a watch or clock.
Yeah,
you would know.
And it's amazing. I had a conversation. I had a one-on-one with this gentleman. He was like 53 years old. He was a government contractor. And he was so laser focused on his business that he could do this. And he was a government contractor for over 20 years. And then he said something to me. I never thought of why I was so laser focused on doing different tasks at different times. And he said, someone suggested to him, have you ever been tested? He said, tested for what? Well, being on the spectrum. And he says, I'm electronics. I do IT work. Why would I think? Yet he got tested and he realized he was on the spectrum. And he said it changed his outlook on the way he thought because it now started to make sense. But to talk to this guy, the conversation was amazing. There was no reason for me to even think that he was on the spectrum because his ability to have a conversation was and sharp as a rock and smart, So he was giving me all the reasons why he was smart and he knew exactly what he was doing. But he said once he got the diagnosis, it changed the way he thought about things, and he said it put it in a little bit better perspective for him personally. And he was, I think he said he was 45 or 46 when he got tested. So he lived almost half his whole life up to that time, trying to figure out why he was so laser focused on getting jobs done.
We used to call that obsessive compulsive.
Yeah. Yeah. I put all my contact in the chat.
I got it. Thank you very much. I got it.
It's 3 o'clock where I am, guys.
Yeah, I gotta get going too. My wife's probably looking for me.
This was great.
Gentlemen,
Catch you all next week.
what an awesome conversation. Thank you both for your time and for what you do. Doctor and I have many conversations. We run into each other quite often. Steve, I look forward to having a one-on-one.
I would love to. With both of you guys, I want to talk to you. My head is spinning with ideas already.
Take care.
Take care, guys. What a great meeting. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you,
Bye,
Shannon.
Emily.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Bye, Emily.
Bye, Marianne.
Thank you, everybody. We'll start the book series next week.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. Get myself back up here. Oh, there we go. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Ability today. Thank Santa, Dr. Harvey, Steve, Marianne, Jim for coming on today. Again, we are here every Saturday at 1 o'clock Central, and we'd love to have you join us. And encourage everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is right over here at Ability Network. And so if you are interested in trying to show, please let us know. We also have a Calendly, calendly.com/World of Ability. If you'd like to, if that's helpful to join that way. We also have other shows in the network as well. So if you're interested in joining any of those, please let us know. You can reach out to me and call or text me at 608-886-9801 or at podcastengineer54@gmail.com or podcastengineer54@gmail.com. And until next time, everybody has a safe and productive week and to stay happy.